The 10th law of power addresses a harsh reality that compassion often obscures: emotional states, attitudes, and even fortune spread between people like disease. Those who are perpetually miserable, anxious, or unlucky carry these qualities with them and transmit them to those around them. Robert Greene's Law 10 instructs you to recognize these toxic individuals and avoid them entirely, because association with the unhappy and unlucky will drag you down no matter how strong you believe yourself to be. This law recognizes that humans are far more permeable to others' emotional and psychological states than we like to admit. We absorb moods, adopt attitudes, and unconsciously mirror the energy of those we spend time with. The chronically negative person doesn't just burden you with their complaints, they reshape your own thinking patterns, lower your energy, and dim your prospects. Like a virus, their misery infects your outlook until you find yourself becoming more like them. Beyond the emotional and psychological contagion, there's the practical reality that unlucky people often create bad situations that ensnare those around them. Their poor judgment, their chaotic lives, and their tendency to generate crises become your problems when you're closely associated with them. You get pulled into their drama, called upon to rescue them from consequences of their choices, and find your own plans derailed by their emergencies. Greene positions this law 10th because it addresses a vulnerability that undermines the strategic positioning built through earlier laws. You can master reputation, control information, and position yourself advantageously, yet association with the wrong people can contaminate everything you've built. Toxic associations are like structural weaknesses that collapse your edifice regardless of how carefully you've constructed other elements. Understanding how others' misery infects you requires examining the subtle ways emotional states transfer between people. The most obvious mechanism is simple proximity and exposure. Spending hours daily with someone who complains constantly, who sees obstacles everywhere, and who radiates negativity wears down your own optimism and energy. Initially, you might maintain your positive outlook, but sustained exposure gradually erodes your resistance. This happens partly through unconscious mimicry. Humans are social creatures who automatically mirror others' facial expressions, body language, and vocal tones. When you're with someone depressed or anxious, you unconsciously adopt similar physical states, and these physical states then generate corresponding emotions in you. You catch their mood the way you'd catch a cold, through proximity and insufficient protection. The content of conversations also matters enormously. The person who endlessly discusses their problems, their grievances, and their catastrophizing interpretations of events fills your mind with the same negative material. You begin thinking about their problems, adopting their interpretive frames, and seeing the world through their pessimistic lens. Even when you're not with them, their voice echoes in your thoughts, perpetuating the infection. Unlucky people also tend to make decisions that create bad outcomes, and when you're associated with them, these outcomes affect you too. They choose bad investments and encourage you to join them. They pick fights that become your fights. They alienate important people who then view you with suspicion by association. Their poor judgment becomes your liability. There's also a more mystical element that Greene hints at: some people genuinely seem to carry bad fortune that spreads to those around them. Whether this is actually supernatural or simply the accumulated effect of poor judgment and negative attitudes manifesting as apparent bad luck, the practical result is the same. Things go wrong around these people with suspicious frequency, and being near them means being caught in the fallout. History provides numerous examples of capable people brought down by association with unlucky or miserable individuals. Lord Byron, the English poet, exemplified someone whose personal chaos and emotional turbulence infected those around him. His relationships were invariably dramatic and destructive. Those who became closely involved with him found themselves pulled into scandals, emotional crises, and social ostracism. Lady Caroline Lamb, who became obsessed with Byron, descended into increasingly erratic behavior during and after their affair. Her reputation was destroyed, her marriage damaged, and her mental state deteriorated. Byron's chaotic energy and emotional instability proved contagious, and those who couldn't maintain distance found themselves infected by his drama. In politics, associating with individuals caught in scandals often destroys careers even when the associate had no involvement in the wrongdoing. During Watergate, Numerous Nixon administration officials who were not directly involved in the break-in or cover-up found their careers ended simply by association. The toxic atmosphere around Nixon infected everyone close to him, and many capable people were brought down not by their own actions but by proximity to the scandal. The business world offers countless examples of successful people whose ventures failed after partnering with unlucky or chaotic individuals. The competent business person who partners with someone whose previous ventures all failed mysteriously finds their joint enterprise plagued by similar misfortune. Whether this reflects the partner's poor judgment infecting the new venture or genuinely contagious bad luck matters less than the observable pattern. Conversely, successful people often attribute their success partly to avoiding toxic individuals. Warren Buffett has spoken about the importance of associating with people better than yourself and avoiding those who drag you down. He explicitly screens for positive, rational, ethical people and avoids those who are perpetually negative or chaotic regardless of their other qualities. Recognizing who to avoid requires developing sensitivity to warning signs that someone carries contagion. The most obvious indicator is chronic complaining without action. Everyone faces difficulties and occasionally needs to vent, but there's a difference between someone working through temporary challenges and someone who has made victimhood their identity. The chronically unhappy person complains endlessly but never takes meaningful action to improve their situation. They have explanations for why nothing works, why every solution is impossible, and why their misery is everyone else's fault. They're not seeking genuine help, they're seeking validation for their negative worldview and company in their misery. Another warning sign is dramatic chaos that follows someone consistently. If every job ends badly, every relationship becomes a crisis, and emergencies are constant, you're dealing with someone who generates disorder. Once might be bad luck, twice might be coincidence, but a consistent pattern reveals character and judgment that create problems. Pay attention to how people speak about others in their lives. The person who describes everyone they've ever worked with as incompetent, every ex-partner as crazy, and every friend as having betrayed them is revealing their own toxicity. If everyone they encounter is terrible, the common denominator is them. Notice also how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you leave energized and optimistic, or drained and anxious? Do they inspire you to action, or do they leave you feeling that effort is futile? Your emotional and energetic response to someone provides valuable data about whether they're nourishing or toxic. The perpetually unlucky person can be harder to identify because bad fortune sometimes strikes randomly. The distinction is between someone experiencing temporary misfortune while maintaining agency and perspective versus someone who has internalized unluckiness as identity. The latter sees themselves as cursed, expects bad outcomes, and unconsciously creates self-fulfilling prophecies. Law 10 raises uncomfortable moral questions because it appears to advocate abandoning people when they're struggling. Conventional morality emphasizes loyalty to friends in difficult times and helping those who are suffering. Greene dismisses these scruples as dangerous to your own well-being and success. The tension is real. There's something admirable about standing by people through hard times, and something cold about calculating whether someone's current state might infect you. Yet Greene would argue that this moral discomfort is precisely what allows toxic people to continue draining those around them. Good people stay out of loyalty or compassion while being gradually destroyed. The resolution involves distinguishing between someone experiencing temporary difficulty and someone who is fundamentally toxic. The friend going through depression after a genuine tragedy deserves support and patience. The person who has been miserable and chaotic for decades and shows no capacity for change is different. Supporting the first is loyalty, maintaining connection to the second is self-destruction. You must also distinguish between helping and being infected. You can potentially help someone from a position of strength and distance without becoming enmeshed in their dysfunction. Professional therapists, for instance, help deeply troubled people while maintaining boundaries that prevent contagion. But friendship, romance, or close professional partnership with toxic individuals rarely maintain such boundaries successfully. The practical approach involves limiting exposure based on someone's current state and trajectory. The person genuinely working to improve, taking action, and showing progress might be worth maintaining connection with at measured distance. The person wallowing without action, spreading misery without awareness, and showing no capacity for change must be avoided regardless of history or guilt. Some cultures and philosophical traditions emphasize detachment and protecting your own energy as legitimate priorities. From this perspective, you cannot help others effectively if you've allowed their dysfunction to infect you. Maintaining your own stability and positive state makes you more capable of offering genuine help when appropriate rather than becoming another casualty of others' chaos. Contemporary life presents new challenges around this law because technology creates constant connection with people whose energy you might previously have escaped. Social media means you're exposed to the complaints, drama, and negativity of hundreds or thousands of people continuously. The person who fills their social media feed with negativity, political outrage, personal drama, and catastrophic thinking spreads their misery to everyone who follows them. Each post is a small dose of their toxic outlook, and accumulated over hundreds of posts, the infection spreads. The solution is ruthless curation of who you follow and what content you consume. Workplace dynamics have also changed in ways that make avoiding toxic individuals more difficult. Open office plans mean constant proximity to everyone's moods and conversations. Remote work means video calls that bring people's home dysfunction into your space. Slack and email mean toxic individuals can reach you constantly. Protecting yourself requires deliberate boundary setting that previous generations didn't need. The challenge is that cutting people off appears harsh in an era that emphasizes inclusivity and mental health awareness. You risk being labeled as uncaring or lacking empathy if you distance yourself from struggling individuals. Yet allowing their struggle to become your struggle helps no one and potentially destroys your capacity to be effective. The strategic approach involves maintaining professional distance with toxic colleagues while seeking opportunities to change teams, departments, or organizations if necessary. With friends and personal relationships, it means gradually reducing contact, becoming less available, and letting relationships fade rather than maintaining them out of guilt. Law 10 integrates with earlier laws in important ways. With Law 5's emphasis on guarding reputation, association with toxic or unlucky individuals damages your reputation by proximity. People judge you by your company, and being seen with the perpetually dramatic or unlucky contaminates how you're perceived. Law 2's warning about friends becomes more pointed when those friends are also unhappy or unlucky. The double danger of friendships' inherent problems combined with emotional contagion makes such relationships particularly hazardous to your advancement and well-being. Law 6's instruction to court attention requires ensuring that the attention you attract is positive. Being associated with others' drama or misfortune means their negative attention spreads to you. You want visibility for your achievements, not for your connection to others' disasters. The relationship with Law 7 suggests using others selectively while avoiding deep personal connection with those who are toxic. You might employ someone's skills while maintaining emotional distance that prevents their negativity from infecting you. Professional boundaries become protective barriers. Law 10 teaches that your psychological and emotional state is your most valuable asset, and protecting it from infection requires ruthless selectivity about whom you allow into your life. This isn't cruelty but self-preservation, because no amount of success in other areas compensates for having your energy drained, your optimism destroyed, and your judgment clouded by association with toxic individuals. The miserable and unlucky don't merely burden you with their problems, they fundamentally alter your perception of what's possible and your energy for pursuing it. Their contagion operates below conscious awareness, reshaping your attitudes and expectations until you find yourself thinking and acting more like them. By the time you notice the infection, significant damage has occurred. This law demands a hard truth: you cannot save people from themselves, and attempting to do so often means being dragged down with them. The drowning person who panics pulls their rescuer under. The toxic individual spreads their toxicity to those who remain close. Distance and avoidance aren't abandonment, they're acknowledgement that some battles cannot be won and some infections must simply be avoided. Protect yourself by choosing your associations carefully, maintaining distance from the chronically negative and chaotic, and being willing to walk away from relationships that drain rather than nourish you. Surround yourself instead with the energetic, optimistic, and fortunate, because their qualities are equally contagious. The company you keep shapes the person you become, and in the realm of power, infection by the unhappy and unlucky is a disease for which the only cure is prevention through avoidance.